This is the Final Word Daily. England, India, the second test match, the fourth day. Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins back in the saddle. And the first thing we do on this show, Adam tells us all about the day in 30 seconds or less.
Well, India started with 27 runs to knock off, but they lost 2 wickets on the way to that. KL Rahul and then Rohit Sharma out hooking for the umpteenth time this year. Gotta love him. Then a 100-run stand after Kohli gets out just before lunch. A 100-run stand across about 4 million balls between Rahane and Pujara, which I deeply enjoyed. But once that fell, there were 3 wickets in quick succession. Pujara, then Rahane, and then Cheteshwar not long before the close. So 181 for 6, 154 ahead, 4 wickets in hand, intriguingly positioned as we head into the 5th day.
It is tasty, the setup. Let's start with that first of all. The fact that after the first innings, the 2 first innings of this test match, we basically had a 1 innings shootout. It was, pretty much level pegging. It was who could do better, could India do well enough in the 3rd innings to test England in the 4th? They still could, but it's slightly against the odds now. There is still that possibility. The one thing in Test cricket at the moment is that if Rishabh Pant is there, we have no ability to predict.
Yeah, well, I think he's about 20 odd
be.
overnight, not out, or maybe fewer than that, but no boundaries. He was so busy though. 14, sorry, but he
14.
was dancing. He was he was looking to create opportunities. He nearly got stumped very early on when premeditating his dance before Moeen even started his run up. I mean, we know how he bats. We know this is going to be part of it, but he managed to play conservatively just at the right time before the close of play, with Virat Kohli gesturing to the umpires that he thought the players should come off, and eventually he won the argument and they left the field about 20 minutes prematurely. We missed out on what could have been a really exciting passage of play with the second new ball before the close, but because of the bad light situation, the fast bowlers never got the opportunity. So play was called off after 82, but the 81st and the 82nd were bowled by Moeen Ali and Joe Root. So yeah, I feel a bit robbed that we didn't quite get that last bit, but you can't do much about bad light.
Yeah, well, I guess you can't do much about it as far as having fast bowlers come on, but it did seem pretty ridiculous to be coming off when there are 2 off spinners bowling, and Ishant Sharma didn't seem to be having too much trouble seeing the ball. So if he was going okay, you'd think that most people should be going okay. We've banged on about the annoyingness of the bad light rules many, many times before, but something's got to be done at some point. It's like the slow over rates. It's not helping the game. Let's go back to the start of the day. What seemed really interesting to me was that Joe Root often comes across as a pretty unimaginative captain. Great with the bat, not particularly innovative when it comes to decisions on the field. You often you think he's the kind of guy who comes out with his bowling plan written on the back of a napkin and that's it for the day. But he changed it up this morning. Ollie Robinson bowled 2 overs with the new ball alongside James Anderson, and then Robinson was off. Mark Wood came on very early and it worked. 2 wickets later, Mark Wood's done the job. It was, I don't know whether it was a gut call or whether it was planned ahead of time, but the change in tactics
I liked
suddenly
it. I think it
results.
spoke to Root knowing that he needed to be nimble today, that on an unresponsive pitch that you needed to have the presence of mind to know when to call for plan B. And look, we saw yesterday that short pitch bowling kind of sort of worked at different points through the day, and Wood's the man most likely on that front. So Wood didn't bowl until, the 28th over or something in the first innings. So they thought, no, we'll get him on early when the ball's hard, before the ball gets soft on a pitch like that, and see whether it can bring a reward. And the first wicket, KL Rahul, the man in form, like a lot of players will get out to that. Not a lot of footwork early on, but you sort of put that to one side. The Rohit Sharma dismissal, on the other hand, again, credit to Root. The third man drops back. 3 balls earlier in the over, Rohit Sharma's hit him for 6 into the grandstand over square leg. Root moves Moeen Ali behind square, has an extra fielder put out in front of square, so 3 in total for the short ball. Everybody knows the last ball of the over is going to be a bouncer. Rohit's up to it. Everyone's got across it, and he has another pop, and that's where he falls at deep backward square. Good catch by Moeen Ali too. I think he might have lost it early on, but gathered his composure and made sure he took the chance. So I like that from Root, that not only did he bring Mark Wood into the attack, but really early on he was willing to do things that were a fraction unconventional based on normal trends and modes of dismissal. You wouldn't normally see someone caught at deep backward square when there's 27 runs on the board in a situation like that in a tight test match. But he knows Rohit hit well, and it paid a dividend.
This is the interesting part to me. Rohit Sharma looked absolutely on early. And when Mark Wood was bowling to him, Wood didn't look that threatening. He was bowling full to Rohit Sharma. He was beautifully driven through long on for a boundary. Rohit was playing him with pretty much with ease. The strike changes over. KL Rahul's on strike to Wood. And for the first time in the day, Mark Wood bowls a hard length just outside the off stump, moving away a little bit, and takes the edge. He had not bowled that length to Rohit Sharma at all. Now, I don't know if that was deliberate or not, but KL Rahul had been at the non-striker's end watching the ball being full at the stumps, and then first ball he gets is back of a length and moving away outside the sticks. That worked. Whether it was a setup or not, it really worked. That was a good piece of bowling and wasn't a bad piece of batting. Rohit Sharma's piece, I mean, to be batting that well and then to chuck it away again, caught on the hook in Sydney, caught on the hook in Trent Bridge, now caught on the hook at Lords. When you've already hit 1-6 for the over and you've seen them move the guy, they had Moeen at deep square leg, you hit the 6 over deep backward, you move the guy around to deep backward waiting for that shot again, and you think, I think I'll take it on, I'll pop it over his head. Maybe as a test match opener you don't need to do that twice in an
that's
over.
Probably the case. And speaking of plans, I like the way that Sam Curran went about it too. Starting around the wicket at Pujara, obviously the plan with the man around the corner, the short leg, all the rest of it. And then with Kohli, just changing that angle, reminiscent of 2018 here at the Oval, actually, when he was able to get Kohli first ball. I mean, it took a bit of time, but the setup was there. And Phil Walker on our broadcast picked up on the fact that Kohli was looking to defend to cover, which has got him in trouble on previous tours of England, most notably 2014. So that was his starting point. He was looking to push out to cover, get bat on ball, and with that bit of extra angle, that's how Sam Curran was able to bring upon the downfall of Virat Kohli just before lunch. At 55 for 3, I'm kind of thinking, look, this could in theory be over today, unless the two old-timers, well, I wouldn't call Rahane an old-timer, but the two experienced men of Rahane and Pujara, the two last men of their engine room, if you like, get busy. So I fully embrace the way they went about it, adding, as I said, an even 100 runs over, the better part of, I suppose, 50 or 60 overs or something like that. There was...
It was a full one-day international, Adam. Right. They faced 49.4 overs between them.
I think it's a commendable way of going about it, because at that stage, they had no chance of winning at 55 for 3 unless those two were there. Knowing the fragility that comes from 6 down, and yes, Ishant Sharma's going okay at the moment, but let's be realistic. It's Ishant then Shami, and Shami's the number 11. So, and you can't have any faith in the 9, 10, 11 sort of setup with India at the moment. So, I think that there was an inherent logic in the way that Pujara and Rahane went about their work. And in a way, I'm disappointed that they both fell in quick succession, because, obviously, if they moved the game along by getting out, but if they were there overnight, maybe India are in a position where they might declare at some stage tomorrow. But nevertheless, I mean, even if they do set England 180 or 190, all 4 results will still very much be on the table.
Well, the interesting thing, I thought, going back to the Kohli dismissal, was that Curran had bent one in and banged him on the pad only a few deliveries before that. He'd had the one that he swung in and that pitched in line, and they went upstairs for the DRS referral because Curran was so excited that left arm over the wicket, he'd managed to pitch one in line to the right-hander and hit the pad that he didn't actually notice it had hit, pretty much up above the flap of the pad, and it was going over. But nonetheless, the fact that he was swinging them in meant that's what Kohli's looking for. And then he just gets the one that goes across that natural variation of the left armour and pokes at it. I also wondered whether Michael Goff was actually responsible for that wicket, because Curran started the day around the wicket, left arm around, trying to angle it in and maybe move it, get it to jag away, whatever that was. He got warned, not officially, but he got a little telling off. He got a couple of nudges about being too near the protected area on the pitch, and then he got specifically told not to run on the protected area. Next ball, he came back over the wicket. About an over later, he gets Virat Kohli from over the wicket. So maybe Michael Goff had a hand in that inadvertently, and Sam Curran did a full Imran Tahir sort of lap of the ground, stopped by the merch stall, bought a couple of shirts, got a Fanta, and came back again because he was that excited with that wicket. But going into that next partnership, I bloody loved it. You know what? Like, people will get stuck into Cheteshwar Pujara for batting slowly and all the rest of it. And it's a high-risk game in a way, because if you face out 100 balls for 11 runs and then get out, people will jump all over you. But the fact that he faced over 200 deliveries, he got to 45, he put on that 100 partnership, and sure, he would have liked to go on, but he got an absolute brute of a ball from Mark Wood, one that jumped off the pitch like a foot more than any other ball on that length in the entire day. There was erratic bounce that had been keeping low, but that was the first one that jumped up. And it took him on the back of the glove, as Pujara was trying to pull his head out of the way and looped into the slip cord. And nobody's playing that ball well. No,
yeah,
if anybody
absolutely.
survives
I love
that ball,
the way
it's
that
luck.
Wood went about it, all the way through. So much so that he injured himself. I mean, gutting that to cut off one run late in the day. And I mean, I have to say I was commentating that part of the day. And as he was preparing to dive, I'm thinking, don't do it, 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 don't do it. And of course he does it. And of course he's bracing his right shoulder off the field, and who knows what happens. Of course, he did try and come back on the field with a strapped up shoulder late in the day, but when it became apparent that he wouldn't be permitted to bowl anyway, they sent him back off to presumably rest until tomorrow or something like that. So at least it's not serious. But yeah, that was an important part of the afternoon. Pujara nearly became the fifth Indian to make a Test match 50 in more than 200 deliveries. Of course, his slowest 50 was the 174-ball effort at Brisbane earlier this year, that absolute marathon on the final day there. But yeah, he was on track to...
And his slowest before that was in Sydney.
Yes, and the one before that, that's right. There was the 2 in 2 weeks, and he was on track to obliterate that and join. And I think that the most amount of balls faced was 236 for an Indian 50, so he probably would have broken that record had he arrived at 50, but yeah, not quite to be. And then at the end of the day, really, Moeen Ali, how important, gets Rahane, gets Cheteshwar with a beautiful delivery, a classic Moeen Ali dismissal, really, around the wicket to a left-hander, clipping the top of off stump or the side of the off stump. That's the stuff when Moeen Ali's at his best. He's taken loads of wickets like that, both at domestic level and international level. So, yeah, we said all the way through the Test, Geoff, didn't we, that Moeen Ali will probably have his say, and he has here.
Yep. Yeah, well, exactly that. He got Rahane, maybe a bit of luck in that dismissal, but Rahane was constantly sort of moving leg side of the ball against the spinners and trying to go through the offside, and quite successfully going through the offside most of the day. And then he got one that didn't really turn and went on straight and got the little edge as he tried to force it away through the offside. But the Jadeja delivery is, you want that as your ringtone. You want that as your alarm to wake you up in the morning. Like you want that in one of those little picture frames that shows a video loop over and over again. Just pop it on your wall. It is a thing of beauty. Like the drift in, the way it just hangs in the air like a Christmas ornament, drifts in, pitches, turns away. Jadeja's playing down the right line as far as he can tell, as far as that delivery should turn. Turns further than that, beats his outside edge, and just ticks the outside of his off stump as it goes by. Absolutely perfect to a guy who's in very good touch. And so at that point, the lead was 140 when Rahane got out. And so you're thinking, all right, if they can put on another 60, if they can get 200 in front, it's game on, because the pitch is starting to get erratic. If they can get to that by lunchtime tomorrow, at the moment, now that Jadeja's out, they're 154 in front. So can Rishabh Pant with the tail get another 40 or 50, or does he get out cheaply trying to force the pace in the morning? That's really what it all comes down to. If Rishabh bats even half an hour on day 5, potentially India have a possibly match-winning lead.
Yeah, that's the whole ball game. I think we're going to be, Geoff, in concert here on Player of the Day. Cheteshwar Pujara, a player we've loved the work of for many years, and we've already explained why we love him. Yes, he didn't get to raise his bat, but he put in a big old shift today, and people have been trying to write him off for the last year or so and undermine what he does. But I love the fact that Test cricket still has room for a guy like Pujara. I mean, 18 Test centuries to his name, 6,300 Test runs. I mean, this guy's a champion. Yeah,
I adore Pujara, but for Player of the Day today, I'm going for Mark Wood. I thought he was the most influential. India's openers have been their best through the series so far. He came in and knocked them both off cheaply. He came back when England really needed a wicket and got Pujara out when Pujara was not in a mood to be got out, and he was dismissed by it was the pace of the delivery that made the pitch behave erratically, and even the fact that Wood did injure himself late in the day trying to save a boundary. He's got this slightly doomed star hanging over him that he seems like a kind of player who's not going to get to play a lot of Test matches, but I feel like we're lucky to see him play the Test matches that he is playing, because he's such a wholehearted cricketer and person, and it's very difficult not to love the way he goes about it, whoever is your team.
Yeah, well said. In terms of our Hall of Fame, fairly open and shut from my perspective. It was when that shot came through of Rishabh Pant laying like he's on a banana lounge. Next in, he's so at peace with the world. I know, if you haven't seen it, look it up on Twitter. Jeff, you've quote tweeted it with the old Jack Thompson pick. But yeah, I mean, it says a lot about Rishabh Pant. And I suppose in some respects, looking at that picture, it reminds me that it's illustrative of the fact that anything's possible tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's doing these ones out the side. The caption should be "pants off," like, you know, just relax, drop the strides. You know, everybody's friends here. My Hall of Fame moment for the day though was when Mel Shawley, our listener, sent this in to us when Cheteshwar Pujara was on 0 from 34 balls. Somebody at the ground popped his wagon wheel up on the big screen. Just that little bit of cricket humour. And when he got his first run from his 35th ball, the crowd went wild. They all went up. They all cheered him. And Virat Kohli came down and shook his hand.
Absolutely magnificent.
So I liked that people got into it. You know, that's like cricket jokes. Nothing better than cricket jokes.
Jeff, in signing off, happy Independence Day to all of our Indian watchers and listeners. Yep. In other words, happy birthday to me. Of course, the reason I know it's Indian Independence Day is my birthday. Yep. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the cricket and enjoyed India putting themselves into some sort of position today, this has been the Final Word Daily. I'm Adam Collins. He's Geoff Lemon. If you like what we do, all of our shows are there in the feed, on the podcast feed. Also on Patreon if you want to support what we do financially. A lot of fun there on the Discord channel as well. This is the Final Word Daily. Cannot wait for tomorrow. No.